Greetings everybody and welcome back to Tank Review Tuesday. So, today for you, I have the beautiful and glorious XM1. Just look at this beautiful looking beast of war. You wouldn't know it by looking at it, at least not from first glance, but the XM1 is actually the prototype vehicle for the M1 Abrams. Now, the XM1 is available here in Armored Warfare at Tier 6 from Wolfie's dealership. It is directly preceded by the M60A3, and it is directly followed by the M1 Abrams. The XM1 development project began starting in 1972 by the United States Army, when the British announced that they had developed a new composite armor system that was superior to steel and spaced steel armor that had been previously used. Both the United States and the Germans attempted to do a joint tank development project that resulted in the MBT-70, but both nations decided that they didn't want anything to do with the vehicle, instead choosing to focus on their respective areas of preference. However, the development of the XM1 continued forward. One of the key contributing factors to the development of the XM1 was that the United States Army approached its tank corps and asked its members what they would like to see in an upcoming main battle tank. Crew comfort was one of the biggest things, and unsurprisingly, crew survivability was equally as large. The XM1 development project in the 70s utilized a traditional diesel tank engine. However, due to the gas crisis in the late 70s, a decision was made to switch over to a multi-fuel gas turbine engine. The British had famously tried to experiment with a multi-fueled engine, but it was an utter disaster. However, gas turbines operate much more efficiently, producing equivalent amounts of horsepower under all circumstances with a majority of fuel types. There's a famous line when the XM1 project was finally announced that a retired Army colonel, a foremost expert in armored warfare, had pointed out that the turret of the XM1 looked like it was perfect to be blown off by one lucky shot, that it was full of shot traps. The designer of the XM1 quipped, "The nature of armored defense has changed dramatically in the last 10 to 15 years, and he simply doesn't know what he's talking about." The decision was made by the United States Army to move ahead with the purchase and ordered some 7,000 of them. The first XM1 Abrams were delivered to the United States Army starting in 1980, with manufacturing of the M1 Abrams commencing officially in 1980. So, how exactly does the XM1 compare to its Tier 6 counterparts? Well, since there's no Tier 6 British counterpart from the Shishkin dealer, we can only compare it to the T-72A and to the Leopard 2 AV. Now, I'm kind of biased. I really like the T-72A, and my experiences playing the game have taught me that on armor survivability, the T-72A is going to win, while the Chobham armor package that is technically part of the XM1 is superior composite armor. The thickness of it and the angling of the glacis gives the advantage to the T-72. When the T-72 is in its stock configuration for armor, it and the XM1 have about the same defensive capability from the front. However, the T-72 gets the ERA armor packs, which are researchable, and once it has those, its defense goes through the roof. So on armor, I'd give the XM1 the mid, the in-between of the two vehicles. How does it stack up for firepower? Well, firepower-wise, again, it's going to end up stacked in the middle. Though, technically, it's tied for last place. Both the Leo 2AV and the XM1 use a 105mm gun, versus the T-72A's 125mm gun, where the T-72A is going to put out an average of 550 damage every 8 seconds. The XM1 is only going to be able to muster about 400 average damage every 7. But if you combine the mobility and the small size of the vehicle, plus the amazing angling on the turret itself, you can actually get yourself into a very good haul-down position and put out a lot of decent quality shots into enemy vehicles. The advantage to this tank is that it does have beautiful gun depression, though looking at the turret, it really doesn't seem like it should. It also doesn't seem like it should have very good gun elevation, but, well, we can't see inside the turret, so I just don't know what's going on in there. It's all just full of magic fairies and unicorn dust. Something of that nature. Anyway, why don't we take a look and see how the tank plays. Now, here we have Operation Red Opossum. If you're unfamiliar with this, this is basically the precursor to Operation Anvil, where you're having to retake this oil field from the Lions of Nequil, or the PLM. It's one of those crazy organizations. But in this case, you're defending it while you vacate, because you can't withstand the onslaught. Though, if this particular battle is any indication, I think we would have been just fine. So, first defense cap point, what have I got myself into? Well, to start off, I'm the only main battle tank on the team, and I have so graciously offered to be everybody's meat shield. So I've put myself a little bit further forward than I would normally like to go, but I'm still in a position on this roadway here where I'm kind of angled back a bit. This is going to give me just that little bit extra angling to help bounce additional shots that are going to come in. I do want to apologize. You might hear some weird, muffled voice in the background. That's actually my bird. The only way I can keep him quiet is to keep him on me, and every now and again he gets particularly chatty. Well, he is on my person. So I'm up here. This VBL is actually going to get really, really brave and move forward a bit further than he should. But it doesn't really matter. We've moved on to the second defense point. And the second defense point is where this vehicle really just kind of showed how tough of a son of a bitch it could be. And I really do mean that. Now, I want to point out, I've just hit this guy while moving. So the accuracy on the gun is surprisingly good, and something back behind me is shooting me with 20 or 30 millimeter, and the Choblum armor is doing a really, really good job. This is one thing that this tank does really, really well. It defends against side shots from 20 and 30 millimeter autocannons. So you don't have to worry nearly as much when it comes down to relocating and taking flanking shots. At least not from armored fighting vehicles. So I'm up here at the cap point, and I've dropped the chieftain down to basically dead, and I decided I didn't want to waste a shot on him, so I just moved in and I got the ram kill. And I have a teammate here who's actually going to congratulate me on the ram kill. which I thought was just kind of funny. It's not... I don't know what you're on about. Anybody would have rammed him. Of course, you really don't see that later on when I go for another ram kill and... Or I should say, I don't see that in other battles where I'll go for the ram kill and somebody will decide that they want to waste a whole shot for that 34 HP just to deny me the kill, or because they're too dumb to go do it themselves. Now again, you can see the mobility of the vehicle lets me turn the hull and face the enemy a lot more effectively than some of the other slower vehicles. The Leo 2 AV has about the same amount of hull traverse, but it doesn't have the same armor level, so if you expose more than a 10% angling, you end up in a situation where they're going to punch through the side of your tank. With this vehicle, that's not the case. And of course with the T-72, 10%, and they're going to hit your ERA packs anyway. Defense point is still hot, and we've got more incoming, and now this artillery is really starting to piss me off. And that artillery is going to be a headache for a little while longer. In the meantime, I'm going to take out this Leo 2, and then I'm going to deal with this warrior. Here's a prime example of the AI being dumber than a box of rocks, and why this warrior is stuck here. I honestly could not tell you. It is hilarious. I'm just gonna sit here and let you pump some more rounds into me. That's okay. We'll do that. The enemies coming out from the east side of the map. This is their typical spawn pattern. They go east side first, then they hit center, and then west, and then back to center. So I've got multiple enemies I'm dealing with at this particular moment in time. A wonderful Leo 1 A5. If you saw my review last week of that vehicle, you'll know that it pretty much has absolutely no armor to speak of. But I don't have any heat rounds, so I'm just going to fire the armor piercing into him anyway. If I had any high explosive anti-tank, I probably should have and would have switched to it just to cause more damage. Take a shot while moving at that artillery to try and finish him off, but the shot goes right into those pipes, and I guess decided it was going to go off somewhere else into space and do its own thing. Now it's coming up to the point here where the center spawn location is going to be most active, so I'm going to try and move back into a position to take advantage of that. Simultaneously, I'm going to pick up one of the secondary objectives and arm the explosives at this particular tank location.
One more to go.
It's worth noting at this point that 2 of the vehicles on my team have died. And again, I'm still the only main battle tank. So, yeah, pressure's on. It could be worse. I could be in something like the Chieftain and have horrible mobility. Or I could be in something like the Leo 1 and have absolutely no armor. It could be better. I could be in the T-72A in the same position. But I'm not. So, it's really not even worth worrying about. I've picked up the last secondary objectives, so all of that is taken care of. No worries. I'm moving back to the center of the map to, once again, defend the cap from the onslaught that's coming down the center. And I'm going to pretty much wreck every vehicle that comes my way. And not only that, but I've gotten myself into a hull down position. So the shots that I'm going to take are for the most part just going to bounce off my upper glacis and my turret, which again has phenomenal angling on it. So this is something that I don't really have to worry about all that much. For being in a tier 6 And being the only main battle tank, I was actually pretty impressed with the end result. And overall, I have to say, I'm really impressed by this tank, as evident by the fact that I've put camouflage on it. It's a vehicle that I'm gonna be keeping in my garage for the foreseeable future. Now, it's come to the end of the video. So, as always, if you liked the video, please do hit the like button. Please do hit the subscribe button. If you have any positive comments or things you'd like me to point out or things that you think I missed, or would just like to start a general discussion, or you'd like to give me recommendations on how I can improve this video or future videos, or how I can improve the channel in general, please do leave a comment down below. I do check those fairly regularly. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Captain Rye, signing off.